I want to welcome you to the DVI Suite Priority Screen webinar. We're going to go through the priority screen, all of its jobs and functions. You'll know who's working on what and if we're on track. Through the priority screen, as it's used to manage and assign technician resources, track completed work, and we can manage the work assigned to the tech as well as a priority order and some time management in there. I want to introduce to you what we're going to be going through. These slides already look familiar to you, but we want to go and just start off by using priority, moving a few things around so we can see what it's meant to do. Then we'll jump in and kind of explain some of the board layout and markers so we know what all the signs mean along the way. And then you want to make sure that it's set up the way you need it for your store. So we're going to go in through configuring it, making sure who needs access has it and those who don't, as well as the setup for it. With that, let's go ahead and jump in and look at my priority screen and move a few things around here. Now we can see that the priority screen shows work assigned based on the columns. I just want to take a note that it's set up as job-based. We'll go back into what that setting means, but effectively each one of these blocks represents a job, not an entire repair order. So there could be multiple jobs in a repair order. And currently each block just represents just a job, and we can see it both ways in a second. We can know that we can quickly reassign a job or its order by dragging and dropping it wherever you want to put it on the board, and it'll assign it there. The columns represent the different texts that are color-coded at the top, and our work that is yet to be assigned to anyone will be on the right-hand side of the unassigned column. And effectively, we want to see that there's a whole bunch of color-coded things on the screen. We will take a look at what those mean, but if you did want to get more details on a specific card, all we need to do is click on it. If we do click on it, you can see here that we can get more of the details. You can reassign the tech as well as the priority from the drop-downs here. And you can get a slightly different view if it was set up under a repair order. So we're going to take a look at what that looks like here. I'm going to unclick that. And we're going to quickly switch over to configuration, interfaces, and options. And we're going to go ahead and simply set priority by repair order instead. And again, if you make any changes at all on DVI, you always want to make sure you hit save, or you're not going to make those changes actually count. And then back on our priority screen, we can see that there has been a big change. Now these blocks, taking a look at this Bob Steven one, which is the most easily apparent one, has more than one job in it already. And it represents the entire repair order. And if you generally keep the jobs together like that, all assigned to one tech, that's definitely the way to go. And again, we can click into it to view additional details. First thing I want to notice though is that there might be a little bit of knowledge gaps here. There's a lot of acronyms. So I'm just going to quickly switch back to our slideshow. And we're going to take a look at some of the acronyms that we have here so that we understand the verbiage. Some of the more important ones here being, of course, the elapsed time, the build time, make sure there's nothing left ambiguous. Next, we'll look at all the markers and layout of our priority screen. Now, some of this will be reviewed based on what we just saw. And let's go ahead and dive into what those symbols and colors mean. That's the general board layout of the board we just saw. And the first thing we want to look for is the first thing we noticed on our board, which is the unassigned column, which is where we grab our work that is yet to be assigned to a tech. And we can simply drag it over, assign it to whom and when we want it completed. Speaking of whom, we have those columns being represented here by our different techs. Andy, the one selected there, color-coded in brown, and you can simply drag it over to his column at any order to assign it to him. Something else you want to look at, if a job has been completed by the tech, you'll see those little check marks there. That means, again, he's already done with those jobs. He's already completed them. And likewise, there'll be a green square if he's clocked into the actual job itself. That way he knows he's currently working on it. And you can see here, we have it set up so he can work on more than one ticket at a time. And that will be important, as some of the settings can limit that as well. You'll see on the right-hand side, there's a tracker. It'll actually track the progress of the elapsed time, and the elapsed time will fill the bar on the right-hand side that you see there to the max build time. And if it exceeds the time build, the bar will show red. And that's only if you're clocking in and out of those jobs with the little clock icon on the tablet. Here you can see that he's currently undergoing the diagnostics check. He's only started that, but he's far past here on the courtesy check for Miss A. Smith at the top, denoted by that red indicator. Now, something else to note, if we wanted to clean up our screen and get rid of all those checked marked items, the ones that the techs have already completed and just view in progress work, we can use that check mark on the far right there to basically remove all completed work from the board, at least from the view. And then likewise, if you wanted to get the most up-to-date information as we go through this, we have the refresh icon just to the left of that. Now, we also want to illustrate how these markers get here and show the tech point of view of these selections. Now on the tablet, when they complete the work, it will show the following screen. That's where they jump in. They can click on the clock icon to check into the job, and you can see that's noted here. You can see the ones he's already started are green and the ones he has yet to are grayed out. Once he's completed it, the check icon, similar to what we saw on the priority board, will denote which ones he's completed. And a big caveat here is you can complete jobs, but you cannot uncomplete them. So you cannot uncheck it on the tablet. So if you are going to do that, just make sure you are indeed complete, or you will have to do it directly from the PC. Perspective there. Next, we're going to move into the last part where we just make sure that who has access, as well as it's set up the way we want to, depending on some of the settings we saw so far. Now, firstly, just ensure, again, the access. For that, we'll start looking at user permissions. And now those are found in the configuration tab under users. And from there, ensure that the intended user, the one that's going to be completing on the configuration tab, has access to both smart status. So smart status is the permission that's highlighted there, and that gives access to both the priority board and the smart status board. If you're logged into the user you intend to make that change for, you will not show up and you will not be able to make edits to the user you're currently logged into. So you might just need another user's guidance or help there at that point. Now the next few configuration settings live under the interface options section of the configuration screen, where we went just a little earlier. Here we can decide if you want to allow text again to clock into multiple jobs, like how we've seen in my examples. And that's going to be the first option that's highlighted in red. And whether we want to enforce that time clock functionality by only letting text clock into jobs that they're already clocked into work. So again, they'll have to clock in first before they're able to clock in and start the timer on any of those jobs. And on the other hand, the next setting kind of enforces that as well. And it basically ensures that if you're not leaving yourself clocked in overnight, as you clock in, it'll clock you out of all open jobs as well. The last option is a nice aesthetic to add to the board, and it color codes the technician's column with their assigned color in our writer, just like how we saw in my example, or else it's just going to be nice plain colored all the way across, still written with their names. But if you have this board poached on a TV or anything like that, it makes it a lot easier to quickly find your color. And of course, the one we spoke about before is a visual option, and it basically affects the way the jobs are assigned on the priority board. You generally keep your vehicle's work on a single tech. You should set this to priority by repair order, groups it all together, easier to manage. Now, if you generally split that work up, often among different techs, having different jobs in the repair order, then setting it up by job is preferred. And this changes whether, again, the visual blocks on the board basically represent an entire repair order or just the individual jobs within. Lastly, one is far cleaner, more concise. And then the latter, of course, allows for more flexibility, but requires more management. You are moving a lot more blocks. You do see a lot more blocks, and there's a lot more noise on that screen. We can quickly look at some examples just to remind us what those two look like. First, we'll look at the priority by repair order. The second one we saw on our example, just to flip it up on us here. And we'll see that these blocks actually represent an entire repair order, multiple jobs within. In Andy's case here, they're all complete. In Bart, he's got a mishmash of incomplete, just started, running over on some, so he's busy. And then Bob has, of course, that really, really big long repair order with a bunch of jobs in there as well. So very easily can determine what an individual's been working on and how far they've gone. We generally get a rough idea of how long it should take. But as you can see here in Bart's case, he's already gone past those times. So those blocks no longer represent probably when he's going to be completing that work. Now, our other example or other alternative to this is just setting the by job. You'll see here that there's a lot more blocks depending on your workload, how many bays or techs you have, and again, depending on whether you split that up at all between your different techs, you'll be able to see every block as an individual job and split that up a lot easier. That finishes up our scheduled agenda, and hopefully you have a better understanding of the features and uses of the priority screen. It is a very short one. Thank you.